Ferrari has been one of the biggest letdowns of the current season. They entered the new regulation era with the fastest and arguably the best looking car on the grid. But only a mere 12 months later, they've fallen and became the fourth fastest on the grid. What happened at Maranello? And what are their plans to make a comeback? Will they be able to turn it around at this weekend's Grand Prix? Ferrari's new upgrade plans have been leaked, and today we'll uncover them for you. The Maranello engineers will make some minor changes to the SF23 at Melbourne's Albert Park circuit. The purpose is to maximise the car's performance, expand the setup window, and manage the tyres, even the harder compounds, in a more effective manner. This is the Prancing Horse's minimum target for the next round of the 2023 Formula One season. Meanwhile, much effort was expended in the sphere of communication. A circumstance that, regrettably, as we saw in Jeddah, has all too frequently made things very difficult for the Italian side. Exactly, since being the victim of a miscommunication like what happened to Charles Leclerc in Saudi Arabia doesn't exactly help. On the contrary, it adds to the frustration of an already difficult situation. Looking back to the previous year, we'll certainly recall the F175's obvious supremacy in the third sector, a part of the course where the Italian car had a significant edge in terms of lap time in practice. The acceleration phases will also be on the Ferrari car in the current season, although Aston Martin and especially Red Bull are extremely excellent performers in this regard, due to a highly competitive rear end that does not punish the front. One of the deciding considerations in Melbourne will be corner entrance, particularly in sectors 1 and 2, where the AMR23 and RB19 will have a distinct edge over the SF23, due to the two cars' highly strong front ends. For the 2022 Australian Grand Prix, the Milton Keynes team adopted a less than ideal setup, resulting in a shortage of rotation on the RB18s, a factor that harmed the whole weekend. This will not be the case this year. Ferrari seem to have overcome the understeer issues after a challenging initial approach. As a result, we anticipate a well-balanced SF23 car. It remains to be seen if the Italian experts, working with the drivers, will be able to deliver all the pure performance that the Ferrari car can give. The lack of bumps on the track is unquestionably great news for the Prancing Horse, as it will allow it to utilise heights from the ground that are more suited for the newest aeromechanical engineering project developed at Maranello, a factor described as one of the most important current issues. In this regard, Red Bull has always had a significant edge, able to run at very low heights in comparison to its rivals. We've mentioned it before, but it bears repeating. Any tiny height change, about 5mm, may make a huge impact in the behaviour of current F1 cars. Returning to the track, we can say that the second sector is all about efficiency, and here is where the RB19 shines. In general, we talk about medium to medium-high downforce on this circuit, which is why, at least for Ferrari, we expect to see an aerodynamic package that isn't too different from the one seen in Jeddah, when the SF23 had a stronger downforce configuration. The SF23 will almost probably strive to capitalise on the features of its power unit, which will enable Ferrari to utilise a larger development window. All of this, of course, assumes that the floor of the single-seater can express the necessary degree of vertical thrust without causing unexpected pressure decreases in specific speed ranges. One thing is certain, Ferrari needs to make changes if they want to become competitive again. So the objective now is to innovate. Big upgrades to the SF23 are expected over the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix weekend at the Imola circuit, but they will not be the first evolutions. A little component will also be unveiled in Melbourne at the Australian Grand Prix, when the Ferrari cars will come to the circuit with a revised floor. According to the Italian daily newspaper La Gazzetta dello Sport, Scuderia Ferrari is working hard to provide various aerodynamic changes and a new rear suspension for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. What is the goal? That of reducing the longitudinal load transfers, which negatively affected the single-seater in the first two races, writes the Sports daily newspaper. Back to the first two races, Jeddah is the emphasis. Scuderia Ferrari had trialled a new floor during the Saudi Arabian weekend, but only for a few laps. The side profile was what distinguished the new floor from the non-evolved one. The developed floor, according to the Maranello specialists, should have decreased the sensitivity of the single-seater to fluctuations in height from the ground. Nonetheless, it seems that the suggested remedy received excellent reaction and was postponed at the moment. Since it did not need a big vertical load, the Jeddah track, with its straights and rapid turns, was not the perfect circuit for testing the efficacy of the new floor. According to the Gazzetta dello Sport, the Australian track is not the same as the one in Saudi Arabia. The asphalt has made ride height control critical. Moreover, the track necessitates a medium to high amount of vertical load. This is why the new Ferrari floor, which was temporarily laid aside in Jeddah, can now be tested by the Maranello team at Melbourne's Albert Park circuit. In the first free practice session, the two SF23 cars of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz will emerge from the pits with the floor update. The Ferrari garage personnel will inspect and assess the upgrade before deciding whether to retain it on the single-seaters for the remainder of the Australian Grand Prix weekend. But as said earlier, Ferrari are expecting a big upgrade for the 6th race of the season in Imola. According to Italian journalist Franco Nunez, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which will take place on May 21st at the Imola circuit, will be the race where the Maranello team should introduce a revised and corrected SF23 car. This will be Ferrari's ultimate bid to join the front of the grid again. The Scuderia has launched a chrono program that should lead to the fielding of the revised and corrected SF23 at Ferrari and face the rest of the 2023 Formula One season, with a hope of challenging not so much the Red Bull RB19, but establishing itself as the second fastest car on track, a position currently held by Aston Martin with merit. It's worth noting that Mercedes is also planning to run the W14 Evolution at Imola, a choice that has received a lot of attention in recent weeks. This implies that the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix has the potential to be a pivotal moment in the World Championship. This will be the real test for the rest of the season, as most teams are hoping to introduce the biggest upgrade of the year at this track. The original intention was to have the upgrades ready for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix after a 3-week break after this weekend's race in Australia, but the new components need a longer manufacturing period. The interventions being worked on by technical director Enrico Cardile address various aspects of the single-seater. Motorsport Italy reports a new floor and a new rear suspension aimed at greater control of the height from the ground thanks to anti-dive and acceleration. But the SF23 is also destined to change shapes, so expect an intervention on the side pods. In terms of side pods, Ferrari will not follow in the footsteps of the Red Bull RB19, but the design that has distinguished Ferrari will not be retained. The aim is to make the SF23 function at the correct minimum height from the ground, as determined in the wind tunnel. The Maranello experts had focused a lot on aerodynamic efficiency studies to cut drag, but they'd not taken porpoising into account. The bouncing at certain speeds necessitates lifting the car's floor off the ground to avoid damage from contact with curbs and asphalt. As a consequence, there is a negative loss of downforce. With decreased vertical force, the energy input to the tyres is reduced as well, resulting in higher tyre wear for tyres that operate outside of the optimal operating window. As a result, Ferrari chose to alter the SF23's development plans, which were to be spaced out over the course of the season with frequent updates, preferring to dive into the pockets to begin the evolution of the car, which would consume the majority of the resources permitted by the budget limit. We shouldn't be surprised. This is a desperate attempt to rescue a championship after a sluggish start in both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Maranello is persuaded that the car's potential is obviously more than what has been seen so far, which is why the interventions are designed to boost the hidden features of the SF23. Fred Vasseur has not begun the purges sought from outside, but is instead focused on a recovery strategy. He has selected the individual who's taken David Sanchez's post as head of vehicle concept. This is an internal promotion for a reputable Italian engineer. It will be up to these three, together with Enrico Cardile and Diego Tondi, the director of aerodynamics, to uncover the keys to reviving Ferrari's fortunes. However, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz will have to play defense. There will be some updates in Melbourne because of the massive quantity of data gathered after the first two races. Yet Ferrari is aware that conditions in Australia may be comparable to those seen in Saudi Arabia. At the same time, the Maranello team does not want to begin the Melbourne race with a setback. The free practice session on Friday will help us understand how things will go. If we see a good adaptation of the SF23 to the Melbourne street circuit from the first laps, they can expect a less difficult weekend this time. What are your thoughts? Will the new floor be enough for Ferrari to challenge the Aston Martins? And will the big upgrade package in Imola be enough to unlock a guaranteed second place in the championship? And how is it even possible that Ferrari, the fastest car at the start of last season, has fallen to become the fourth fastest car in a mere 9 months? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'd love to read your reasons why Ferrari have fallen behind this season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with all news regarding F1.